What was new about this and has markets moving?
Well, I think what's really new is that this is confirmation from the president that he does intend to go ahead with the implementation of these 25% tariffs on the U.S.'s closest neighbors and biggest trading partners on Saturday, February 1st. Now, to your point, Alex, he had suggested already that February 1st was kind of a deadline, is his mind. He suggested that on his very first day in office after his inauguration last week. And it was reiterated by the White House press secretary, Kaley Leinz, in her first news briefing earlier this week as well, that February 1st was still the date they were looking at. Something interesting, though, from these remarks per our reporters in the room is that he said he will be making a determination on oil. Obviously, oil specifically a big end product, a big import from Canada. It would have the potential to impact crude prices, as we're already seeing today with a little bit of lift in crude futures. But that's something he's going to be keeping an eye on. But what the president is suggesting here in the Oval Office is that he doesn't see the U.S. as having need of the products coming from these countries like Canada and Mexico. He thinks the trade relationship is unfair. And a lot of this, too, in his mind, is about fentanyl coming over our borders.
OK, whatever. Let's. But on the point, though, about the things coming in and out here, too, I mean, this is a huge cross-asset move. And we need our viewers to understand what's happening here. It's not just the peso. It's not just gold. Lumber going down as well because of a comment saying that apparently we don't need the lumber coming out of Canada. It gets to a question here, Kaley, as to whether the White House has even tried to articulate any sort of sense of how we, I guess, replace, if at all, any of those things. I know his comments are basically, we have the lumber, we have the oil, and everything else we need. I'm sure a lot of executives would disagree with that. When do we articulate more of where that supply is?
Well, it's an excellent question, Romaine. The president's intention, he says, by tariffs is to protect American industry, that he wants more of this coming from the U.S., inclusive, of course, of energy production. And that pertains to oil, as we were just discussing. But yes, you're exactly right. There's not a clear one-for-one replacement in a lot of these goods we are importing from both Canada and from Mexico, which is why many have pointed to the potential inflationary impacts of this shortages that could be created. But those in the Trump administration or those about to join it, including Howard Lutnick, who has been tapped to be the Secretary of Commerce, was testifying in his confirmation hearing yesterday, putting down as nonsense the notion that tariffs were going to cause inflation. Lutnick is supposed to have a big role in shaping the trade policy of this administration, though he is not confirmed yet. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is. It's unclear what Bessent's view on this particular move might be or whether or not he's going to be supporting the president on this one. But this does throw a little bit of cold water on this notion that the threat of tariffs was simply for a negotiation, that it was a tactic for Donald Trump to extract concessions he wanted from these governments. It doesn't seem, at least at this time, that that's necessarily the case. It does look like he is intent on imposing these on Saturday, though I'm sure we're going to be getting responses from Ottawa and Mexico City in pretty short order, as Canada, for example, has threatened retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., suggestions even that it could be dollar for dollar.